Welcome back, everybody. Before we dive into our next game, which is going to be Anexis taking on CJ Entus Blaze, we have a cool surprise for you guys. And for that, I'd like to ask my lovely companion on stage, Paul. Paul, come up here. Paul, what have you got for us today?
We have something very special for you, actually. We've gone on to Raid Call, and we've asked people to join the channel, 1997, and the guys in the channel have been asked if they'd like to talk to EG and ask them some questions. So I actually have some questions for EG on the Ultrabook right now, to ask them some specific questions about Intel Extreme Masters and League of Legends.
Amazing. So we're going to bring the players out. Can you give a good round of applause for EG? We have Wicked, Snoopy, and Yellow Pete joining us here on stage. Yeah, you can take it over there. Yep. All right, Paul, so what's the first question?
Okay, the first question comes from Bogosity, and he says, are the results in the IEM more demoralizing than anything else, or does it work as an incentive for you to improve?
I think it's very motivating every time you lose, because all you're doing is looking forward to the next win, and you learn every time you lose. You have to lose to learn, and it's just motivating because you need to get the next win.
Okay. We also have one from IR Jesse, who says, how do you mentally recover from a loss so you can move on to a win?
I think it's the best thing to do. First of all, you gotta take the stress and get rid of it before the next match, and just clear your mind completely. And then from a gameplay perspective, as well, obviously you have to look at your mistakes you made and hopefully improve those in the next game.
Okay. I got one for Snoopy here. He says, this is from Daibu7, I hope I pronounced that right. He says, how did Snoopy train specifically for the jungle?
I wouldn't say the Rocky Balboa style. No, I wouldn't say I specifically trained for the jungle initially. It was something I picked up after a long time playing. I liked the overview of the game that a jungler had, and I was really fascinated that I could have an impact all over the game. And I picked up the jungle because of that, and since then it was just a lot of training, a lot of solo queue, practicing it day in, day out, and watching other junglers as well, just learning from them. And yeah, now I love the jungle, and I'm Balboa of League of Legends.
Okay, this one comes from Viek, or Wyek, it's W-I-E-C-K. He says, prior to the SK match, had you been practicing top lane Frog and Wicked mid, or was it a split second, let's try something new, we scrimmed it before we type thing?
We've actually been practicing that strategy against SK 5 times in scrims this weekend. So we've been practicing a bit, but we didn't feel comfortable before the last game, so we were like, let's just try everything out.
Okay, it's nice, I like that, it's honesty. Another one from IR Jesse, you've got two questions in here, lucky thing. Does your team do anything special after a win? How do you celebrate?
I think the biggest thing we've done after a win was getting absolutely hammered. That's the best way to do it. No, it's nice to celebrate and go out with the guys and have a couple of beers after the games. It's always good after a win just to celebrate.
Okay, Yellow Pete, did you enjoy playing IEM in your home country? Also LCS, of course.
Well, it's obviously nice. We're an international team, and I'm not going to complain that it's being played, all the matches being played in my country. So I personally don't really care, whether it was in America, in Korea, or here. It doesn't really make much difference for me, but I know it makes a difference for the fans. They like to see me play here, so that's nice.
Nice. That one came from Kuhlwagen, by the way. That's my best German impression. Our final question is from Fremlock, who says, what tournaments are you looking forward to after the Intel Extreme Masters?
I think the tournament we're most looking forward to is the Season 3 finals. We're at the Season 2 finals, which was a fantastic event, and I think the Season 3 finals is going to blow it out of the water, and I can't wait to be part of that, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Very nice, thank you, EG. Let's give a round of applause for EG, everyone. Very nice. Also for the EG fans out there, they're going to be heading straight over to the Intel booth for an autograph session, so go over there. Okay, thank you very much, lovely assistant, Paul. As for us here on stage, we're going to dive into our next match soon. It's going to be CJ Entus Blaze taking on Anexis. So analysts, what are your thoughts about this matchup?
Thank you, Shocks. Getting ready here for the last quarterfinal, Anexis versus Blaze. Going to be really exciting. Blaze finishing second in the group, Anexis third. That gives Blaze first choice of map side, and they picked red.
We're going to pick Proving Grounds. I think that's the
Well,
name.
yeah. We're doing an Aram for this one, guys. I would love that personally, but no, I think it's not too soon to make the joke.
Not good to do
Aram in the
world
final?
finals. No, it's not good.
Right. So let's get back on track. It is, of course, going to be Anexis. They placed third in their group. They did relatively well, winning 3 games, almost coming out of nowhere. They lost the last 2 of the day. We've seen some good things from them, and we also seen some sloppy play from them. I know in particular, sticking around after objectives have been completed. I mean, there was one dragon fight which I know is burning in your eyes right now, Panky.
I was like, yeah, I don't want to be too mean, but they won the first 3 games today, all on the second stream. We didn't personally get a chance to see it, but then we put them on the main stream. And if they'd played like that for all their previous games, I'm very surprised they won them, if I'm completely honest. They did not look like a team that was going to take everyone by storm and beat the teams that they did. So something must have been very different. They have been, I mean, they played on the IEM stage in Brazil. It wasn't quite as big a crowd. It was not a World Finals. They haven't had that stage experience that a lot of teams had. So that might have had something to do with it. But they've had a chance to go home, relax, sleep, rest, do some research on their team, and I'm expecting some big things out of them here now.
All right.
They are still a good bunch of 5 players.
We'll take a closer look at them by the team sheet. We'll bring up Anexis first. Yeah, you know, first pick, they are on the blue side.
Yep.
And we've seen some interesting play out of them yesterday. And of course, Zaxxas, Overpower, Saliva, Arkel, and Erotic. I have to say, out of watching the games yesterday, Arkel was the one that really stood out for me in terms of the team play. We didn't get to see too many of their matches, but the one that we did, his positional play was pretty good. He picked engagements well, and you know, he really was playing the carrier role the way that you were meant to. So I'm looking forward to seeing more from them.
Well, he only comes with Arkel. There was a couple of opportunities, and now this is going to sound a little bit unfair because it was against Shy Singed. No one does well against Shy Singed. But he was up in top lane. They were trying to farm against each other. Arkel gets caught, dies 1v1. Upset. Damn, what a shame. He goes back up there, does exactly the same thing again.
Yeah.
A little bit questionable, but other than that, it was a pretty solid performance from his Valis. Got caught by a couple of hooks by Mad Life during team fights, but Mad Life's thresh.
If I remember correctly, didn't they allow the Singe to go through as well after we had just seen Blaze picking up a win with Singe?
Yeah,
now that I'm trying to think
exactly.
about it as well, like, you know, going into it. So that's going to be a question for the team as, you know, what they're going to do in terms of composition and picks.
All right, well, the teams are almost ready. This game, I'm sitting here. I just have my fingers crossed because
Blaze.
Captain Jack's here.
You've forgotten about Blaze.
Oh,
Does that Captain Jack is here? Let's
and you know
show
why I forgot
who's on
about
his
Blaze?
team.
Because you know what I was about to say? Captain Jack's in this game, and I'm a really big fan. And I was about to say he could play Trist, he could play Graves. Either way, I'd be so excited. And I forgot all about the team sheet. Let's bring up CJ Entus Blaze and take a look at them.
It's Flame in that top lane, Helios in the jungle, Ambition in that mid. I expect we'll probably see a Twisted Fate ban heading his way again. We saw it a couple of times in the group stages. Then Captain Jack, as you say, your Tristana, your Graves, your favourite carries, and Lustboy down there in that bottom lane. That's the pairing. Or, as I say, down there in the bottom lane, they're just that AD carry support combo. They're probably going to be in the top lane now. That's a more common way. We see lane swaps now more than we see people staying where you used
And
to.
depending on the picks, it could even be AD support in the mid lane if they go for something like Caitlyn Lulu, which we've seen yesterday. And
Against
again,
the
you were
Genius.
spot on with the prediction saying, well, if it's Caitlyn Lulu, they're going to go mid, and they win mid. So there's a lot of options, a lot of things that they can do. I think yesterday, Ambition probably the standout player coming out of Azubu Blaze. You know, time and time again, just playing really, really solidly, really, really well. The only loss that Azubu Blaze had was against SK Telecom Team 1 in the very, very first game of the day. And it was a very close matchup. You know, it was really just Raven's Twitch getting too far ahead too early, and that was really the damage he was putting on team fights turned it in the mid game. So I know Blaze would have, you know, sat back and looked at what went wrong, analyzed it, and said, well, we want a rematch because if they win this, they will be facing off against SK Telecom Team 1 in the semi-finals.
Any expectations from Anexis in this one? There's a lot of Blaze matches out there they can watch, probably more than Blaze can watch if Anexis is. Any predictions on their composition?
Predictions in the competition, not so sure. We did see Varus coming out of Arco quite a bit yesterday. Overpower is a big Lee Sin player. We did see that from I'm So Fresh, but I don't think we're going to see it again. It didn't really make the impact we want, and that only really fit with the strategy that Millennium tried to run, that split push, that very mobile, moving around a local position. Don't think Anexis is going to try and do that again. They've just seen what these Korean teams could do against that. You're going to have to play that on a very high level to outdo their teamwork. So I think they're going to have something else up their sleeve, but we're about to find out what it is as those picks and bans just kick in.
We're in Champion Select. We're about to see the first ban My heart's already beating faster.
Well, while we're waiting for that, I mean, Anexis is the team that we know relatively well. We've seen them, on the outskirts of these competitive events for a very long time. They're aggressive players. They like to get in there. It's a team that's been together for a fairly long time as well. They're all Polish, so they've got that synergy. And like I said, we've seen them, just not in the limelight, under the lights and on the big stage. So the pressure's on them. And I definitely think whatever we do see, I expect it to be a fair amount of lane aggression. And, they like to play the champions. They like to go for the kills. The red mist overtakes, and they try to get that score, the kill score on the board.
Well, the first bans are in. Nidalee from Anexis and Twisted Fate from CJ Entus. Do you think the Twisted Fate is targeted?
Sort of. I mean, their first pick, they can take it. CeBIT can play a pretty strong Twisted Fate. I said I expected it against Ambition. They're the guys that have banned it. But yes, if you're not first pick, you don't want to risk giving it to your opponents. CeBIT can play him very well. It's not worth risking.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did he not run Flash Teleport Twisted Fate yesterday? I think he did.
Yes.
I think he ran Flash Teleport Twisted Fate, so they seen it yesterday. Are you surprised by the Singe ban and all, Jarek?
Not surprised by the Singe ban. I am surprised by the Tarek ban game. We've only seen him once in the entire tournament so far on stage,
what I was
anyway.
thinking. I mean, we saw it. Frost played it. They played it on Woong and Mad Life down in the bottom lane. Tarek Urgot. No surprises there.
We may have missed it on B stream. We may have missed it on the secondary stream. Props to Papa Smithy and Pace You Time for running a stream.
If they're banning it now, I have the suspicion they're trying to run something very specific. They want to run a bottom lane which Tarek just shuts down on the spot or instantly, or have some kind of lane swap where they don't want to come up against that. It certainly seems very situational. It's definitely not targeted. It's not something Erotic is particularly known for. We'll have to see what their pick
Shen is available.
Shen is available. Not really surprised. It will probably get picked here by Blaze in their first two rounds. First two picks, their first round of picking. Be surprised if it's not, but I'm pretty sure we'll see him in the game one way or another.
And of course, Kayle and Lux round out the final bans. Kayle, again and again and again, we have seen banned. There's been a couple of games where she's slipped through the cracks, not picked or banned. So that is a slight shift from what we have been seeing of late. You can see that Flame has already locked in Caitlyn there for Captain Jack. Captain Jack's been playing a lot of Caitlyn. He gets very, very well known for specific champions. And a few months ago,
against him in the group stage.
Exactly, a couple of times actually.
Yep.
And a few months ago it was Graves when he was super powerful in the Graves Tarek lane, and of late it has been Caitlyn. So just going to that comfort pick, comfort champion. Jarvan being locked in for the jungle. So Shen making it all the way through to halfway through the picks and bans. A little different from what we've been seeing.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I mean, we've seen a couple of Korean teams do it. We've seen it banned. We've seen it tried by a couple of Western teams. I want to see Nami. I have a feeling Nami Caitlyn is a fairly strong lane. There's good long range in that. There's good CC, good sustain, good poke from the pair of them. And you can harass from quite some distance, stay very safe. And on top of that, Nami's ultimate, Nami's stun will work very well alongside that Jarvan and the zone control you get from those two. So it's possible, it's there, but Anexis' lineup is currently looking very, very tanky, powerful, high damage output. I'm not sure Nami's so good against that.
Yeah, taking Xin for the jungle, no surprise there. Ryze in the mid? I mean, not so surprising.
A very, very powerful combination that they've got right now. Very, very good initiation, counter initiation. They have, lane control. They have the ability to kick everybody away. Ryze. It's a good combo that the three of them have. But it's interesting that they've decided to leave their AD carry and support for last. They don't know what CJ Entus Blaze are going to be running as that support champion. So they're going to be playing a little bit safe. And we've completely forgotten that Thresh was available. We haven't seen a lot of Leona of late, and she's sitting, has been almost fallen by the wayside a little bit in terms of supports. If Thresh does get locked in, Lustboy will be running Thresh, and with Volibear, does that mean it's going to be mid lane Jarvan maybe?
Possible. It could also be top lane Volibear. That's something that he was first tried when he first came out. Didn't really seem to fit. Most people didn't go for it, and they switched it around. Or of course it could be top lane Jarvan as well. Did want to comment just before, but he switched in. And now CeBIT, Teleport, we saw him running yesterday on Twisted Fate. He did have initially Ignite on the Rise, but Teleport is something that he works very well with too. He can also use that Rune Prism once he teleports down into a ward, bottom lane, top lane, whichever he goes. Very strong CC, generally results in a kill. And that gives that good map presence for a very tanky champion. So we'll see if he sits on it.
This is a full tank Anexis at the moment.
This is a very, very strong tanky Anexis lineup. Probably the squishiest you're going to see on there is perhaps Rumble early. Once he starts getting the gold, once he starts getting the items, he builds tankier later on. But his first few items, Haunting Gaia's, the
Soul Shoes.
Yeah, Sorcerer Shoes. He doesn't have that much health to begin with, but he can still build very, very tanky and do a lot of damage later.
To be fair, with the exclusion of Caitlyn, almost every single champion that we have on screen right now is fairly beefy and tanky. 2 seconds left on the clock, and they're going to go for the Tarek Soraka bottom lane. So
Oh god.
Oh god, thank you. I don't know why I said Tarek Soraka, because Tarek was banned.
Hey, next patch maybe.
thank
Tarek
you.
Soraka might be something.
Over Soraka, it's going to be a fairly passive laning phase for Anexis. They're just going to try to spam those Acid Hunters out as much as possible. If Jax does get locked in, this is going to be very, very exciting because, again, we've only seen it, I think, once. He has sort of fallen out of favor as the meta has sort of shifted around him, but there's a long time. It does get locked in, so Jax,
I suspect, is possibly going to be our mid lane.
really?
We've seen Peke run it a couple of times. He does seem he's got the right sort of kit to work against that Ryze pretty well, but again, they could still put it anyway. Jarvan does the same thing, the armor reduction. Ryze does like to get a lot of armor early on, but it's going to be that little bit of a mind game. Could go either way, depends on the players as well.
There's a really interesting thing here. You've got this almost double bruiser AP coming out of a Nexus in the top and the middle lane, and you've got almost just double bruiser. I know a lot of Jax's damage is predominantly magic, but he's got a good mix and, sort of auto attack on the right-hand side. So if Zinza's ultimates are on point, and if the equalizers can zone them out, they can, do well in these team fights, but there's going to be a lot of pressure on landing every single ultimate from Anexis.
I'm a little bit worried if they do lane swap this and you Urgot or Soraka against Jax, he's going to have a lot of issues. There's going to be non-stop ability spam, and he's going to have to get in close to try and do the damage. Not going to be easy for him. So we may, in fact, see a conventional carriage versus support lane somewhere.
Well, the game is loading. I'm ready and excited. The casters for this match are Joe Miller and Jason Kaplan. Take it away, guys.
So here we go then, our second quarter final of the day, joined as we heard there by Jason. Jason, what do you think to these two comps coming out of Anexis and Blaze?
Well, we saw Nexus yesterday come out surprisingly well. I mean, we didn't really expect them to go that well, or that 3-0 in group stage early on, and then they kind of fell off against Frost when they played against them. It was really kind of confusing when they played that well all day, and then they kind of just through it kind of in that little bit of a game. But Blaze, they're a very strong team day one. They just trampled most of the teams. They lost to SK Telecom T1, obviously, but they're a very strong team, and they have a very interesting lineup behind them.
So what do we think to this lineup from Blaze? And we saw that Tarek ban out in there to fit in perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, well, Erotic plays a lot of Tarek. We saw him do that all day yesterday. It was mostly off stream. And then also, it kind of gave a little bit of a hint that they wanted to run an all AD composition. Is Tarek with that armor, or it just really hard counters that a little bit, not to mention if he even threw in that Jarvan, that extra stacking with the flag. So just taking that away and going for the composition of this very AD heavy and also CC heavy team.
So level 1 here, we saw in that last game, Frost actually went fairly heavy on the invade. It led to 4 kills at the start of the second matchup. Can we expect anything from level 1 between these two?
I wouldn't be too surprised. I mean, you see Blaze right now going towards this top side. Looks like they want to go for a late invade. And I'm not sure if they'll actually be spotted by Xaxis there, but they are kind of backing away. I mean, they have a good team. If you can lock them down with that Thresh, flip them back, even have Counter-Strike out of Flame, they're not going to move anywhere, and you have the damage behind you to really kill them.
So let's have a look then. Early wards put down across the river. Actually, 1 red on top and bottom. 2 blue wards on the top side of the map there on the river bush corner. And also right on the top side of the river. And also 1 on the bottom side there closing for Anexis. We are going to be seeing Thresh, Volibear and Jax here in this top lane. On the top side of the map, I should say, by the golems. Anexis looking like they will have a Wraith start with Overpower.
Pretty interesting looking at the runes of CJ Blaze at this point. We have Flame in the top lane. He's actually running 6% lifesteal and 2% spell vamp. So he's really going for a heavy sustain lane, maybe potentially looking at doing that 1v2 if they sent that up there. But against Rumble, he's going to have a really tough time until he gets that level 6. And as well, I believe it was Captain Jack is running 4% lifesteal. So we've seen a lot of the Koreans running a lot of lifesteal quintessences. We've also seen Genja from Gambit doing that as well. It seems to be like the new way to go, just to have that extra sustain lane when you don't have that sustained support.
Well, Buff started off here. Ambition doing his blue. We saw there is Overpower doing his red buff. He's going to be picking that one up. Actually did use his smite. And Ambition going to be taking that blue buff away, which is an interesting start from them.
Yeah, I mean, anything. Well, it's kind of interesting because he was going to go 1v2 in this bottom lane against Urgot and Soraka, and it's going to really give him a tough time. We actually do have Soraka roaming around a little bit, so we might even see her go mid to counter this this 2v1 lane. But he's going to need all the help he can. He's melee, obviously, against this range out of Arquel, and he needs an extra sustain to Well, actually, we do see, sorry, Helix getting caught in the jungle here.
Yeah, getting caught out by Overpower. Will they be able to get, maybe we'll see the flash from both players. Flash from Helios, though. Will he get away, get slowed down by the Harpoon? He's very low on health. Can Flame come in to save this one? He's going to put the counter-strike down. Actually, will get the stun onto both of them, but now he's facing a lot of pressure. Will leap straight back onto Volibear, and Blaze get away with it.
I bet you Overpower's kicking himself right now for taking that battle cry. If he had that audacious charge, that would have been guaranteed first blood, give him a nice little extra bit of gold and help him get ahead in the game. As Helix also had that red buff, would have been a nice thing to steal away. But so far, look at the mid lane. It's not exactly what we're expecting to actually happen, but CJ Blaze are actually pushing them back quite hard and really keep them under their own turret, trying to allow Rise to CS, but he's not one of the best ones to do that when he doesn't have that blue buff.
Yeah, they know where Erotic's position is there. They've just spotted him walking away, so Jax will be thinking about this top lane. As down in the bottom, Ambition and Arkwell exchanging a bit of damage here, but that's the danger with Urgot. When he gets locked on, he's going to have a series of 3 attacks that are going to really hurt Ambition.
Yeah, and he also starts with the Doran's Blade. He doesn't have the mana, though, the sustain the lane to actually keep doing that over and over, so he just tries to get him
without Soraka.
Yeah, exactly. Just tries to get him low as possible, and then he's actually backing right now to pick up a couple of items here. And Joe, looking at this mid lane, it's really throwing me off. I mean, it's exactly kind of what you expect to see when you have a 1v2 with Rise, since he's very weak early on. Well, actually, we do see in the meantime, Helix in the top lane, potentially going for a gank on Zaz. We did see that flashball earlier in that gank, as well as Flame has his up, and obviously that leap in the mid lane. We do see a little bit of still action. Let's Boy's landing quite a bit of his Q so far.
Zaz is just going to be backing off from that one. Ward down, but Helios is already in that brush. Will the bear come charging out towards Rumble, cause him a bit of a surprise? No. Harpoon goes through. That's like, haha, sucker, got you. And that will be him safe in that top lane. So 4 minutes 40. Can't really compare it to the second game of the last quarterfinals. Rise starting to put down some damage there. Now, one of the problems that Rise has is mana, obviously, at these early stages, and having that Soraka there really is going to help him out.
It's helping him out quite a bit, but as you can see, he's still very low on mana at this point. He has 16 CS to the 32 of Caitlyn, so he's really hurting at this point. He can't afford to keep spamming spells to kill all those minions under turret. He's going to need that blue buff when it does come up about 7 minutes and 20 seconds in, but we do have Ambition. Looks like they go for a 3-minute push on this mid turret.
Oh, they're going to get the hook in on towards Celiver. The knock-up not quite landing, but will they have the damage here? Ambition tanking the turret up. There is first blood coming in. The bananas flying off towards him, and that won't be enough damage, and that is first blood to Blaze, and it went over to Caitlyn as well. He may even get a second here. There is a Peacemaker, not making much peace with that one as a Lantern comes flying in. He could have escaped if he wanted to, didn't need it in the end.
And we've seen Blaze do this before. In day 1, they did this kind of exact thing where they sent the jungler middle and just forced that aggression, forcing the jungler to come and help, and they even picked up a couple kills and that early turret. But with those 2 first kills and that first blood, they're just going to back away. Caitlyn with both of those under her belt, 1,800 gold to spend. I wouldn't be surprised to see a BF sword come out.
Yeah, really could go for that here. And as you said, Rise only with 18 CS, that might become a real problem for him later on. He's going to come back into the lane with a tier. And
speaking of the problem later on, if CJ Blaze can control his blue buff when it comes up and take it away from him, he's just going to be so far behind at this point that there's nothing he can, there's not nothing he can do to get back in the game, but it's going to take him a lot longer than it naturally would for him to finally get that power spike he needs.
There is Jax just going to be going back in and out for the CS. He's got a 10 CS lead over Zaz's Rumble at this point. Helios going to come down into this bottom lane. Here we go. Arkwell forced to flash to avoid the combo.
This is like, I think it was early season 2 or mid season 2 where you used to see Urgot solo lane in the middle before he kind of got balanced with his range decrease on his Q. It's kind of interesting to see that happen yet again, and he's actually not doing amazing against Ambition at this point. They're even in CS right now.
Lost Boy there, taking damage from Rise. Doesn't give any cares, let's say, from that one. Celiver already down to half HP. That's a Piltover Peacemaker coming in there, already causing him so many problems. He's obviously going to get the heals coming in finally from Soraka, but we have Thresh hanging off towards the side. Is he going to be able to land the hook here? The passive from Captain Jack was just used to keep farming those minions, and they're going to have a turret away, and it's the outer middle turret, Jason. That is a big deal.
Yeah, that really is. And with how much money Nexus has been investing into wards at this point, if you look across the minimap, they're not going to be able to ward up their own jungle and keep the wards out in that river. So these outer lanes are going to really start to fall behind and really have to play a little bit defensive. And if they do that, CJ Blaze is in the driving seat. They can, 3-4-man push the solo lane and get another turn on top of it and start to snowball that gold income.
But Rise now is going to have that farm running through, none to be lost to the turret, so we'll see if he can catch up there. I'm about to hit 30 CS, so not in the worst of positions, but obviously already dying as well doesn't really help out, as Volibear going to be taking that blue buff away for himself.
And Joe, I mentioned a little bit earlier about if Anexis can't control their blue buff here, Selvar is just going to be really, or he's going to fall even further behind. We have that, oh sorry, we just see a gank on this bot lane right now.
Yeah, we are going to see that. Arquel actually already going very low from this one, as we're seeing the Qs flying over. Helios is going to get charged into by Overpower. Can they take him down? The bananas coming into silence. Overpower flashed in there for that one. He's going to go underneath the turret. Captain Jack uses the barrier. Is he going to be able to pick up a kill? He will get one there just as he dies. Thresh actually coming in from the side. Ambition is going to track them down. This could go disastrous. The Lantern comes in, but they don't need it. Here is Erotic. He tries to dodge the flag, manages it. The Cataclysm will lock him up. That is a kill there on the top side then. Rise being chased out here by Lustboy. They've got no one to head him off on that opposite side. Can Lustboy finish it? Chasing in there, Ambition in behind him as well. Selva doesn't have flash, but it won't be too far away. There's the Lantern put over onto Jarvan. Can they get in? There is the hooking onto the minion. He's close in range. He pulls Selva back, and there is a Dragon Strike to finish off from Ambition.
And overall, the entire fight was a 2v4 in favor of Blaze, obviously. And just like the announcers desk was saying before, Anexis seems to be in that kind of mindset where they overstay their welcome at an objective. They got one kill, they could have backed out, but they end up losing 4 because I just see Flame being going head-to-head against Xaxis in the top lane, and he's able to push him out now because of this.
Yeah, got that Vamp Scepter in there, so anything he's losing from this Flame Spitter, pretty much getting straight back on it, as well as Overpower going to visit the middle lane. Lustboy and Ambition, though, not going to fall for that one. Lustboy going to be headed home. Jarvan obviously at 3-0-2 right now. Is starting to get very strong. BF Sword, Vamp Scepter we saw from Captain Jack as he pulled off a kill underneath the turret onto Overpower just before he went down. So now they are still in a strong position here, Blaze.
Yeah, and what makes it even worse for Anexis at this point is you have Jarvan, who has that Cataclysm. You said he was 3-0-2. He's going to be able to get into the backline and really lock down Rise, lock down well, not necessarily Xin, but lock down Rumble, Soraka, maybe even Urgot, depending if he wants his ultimate to get out of that. But because he's going to get so tanky, he's going to have the damage behind him, he's really going to be able to control Anexis and not going to be able to do exactly what they want to do in these fights. And Xaxis might actually get kinked in this top lane.
Yeah, they're going to go in there with the counter-strike. The Bear going to come in. Is he going to get the flip off? Here is Overpower. Equalizer goes down. Flame is very low. Can they catch in on towards Flame? Helios is super low as well. They're both going to go down here. That is a kill for Rumble, a kill for Xin Zhao. That is perfect from Anexis.
Yeah, great play by Overpower. We used to know him as an amazing middle player. We saw him in Extreme Masters Singapore, played exceptionally well. We were always surprised at what he pulled out. And he's showing right here, he's just as good in the jungle, counter-ganking Helios right there and picking up those 2 kills for nothing. And even this turret on top of that, getting Anexis a nice little bit of gold to get back in the game.
Yeah, they are still 1,500 behind though, and Captain Jack and Lustboy are still pressuring this bottom turret. Headshot saved up here to maybe given out to Arquel if he gets too far out. They get locked on there. Couple of Qs coming into Captain Jack, loses half of his health, but the hook lands in on towards Arquel. Peacemaker actually pretty much missing there. Lustboy could be in trouble, but Jarvan is in. Cataclysm goes down. Arquel is going to die. Captain Jack given the kill. Lustboy also got the one just before that onto Soraka. And just as we were talking about how well Anexis have done in the top lane, it all goes pear-shaped in the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, we saw earlier just how many wards Anexis was putting down, but once they lost that mid turret, their ward coverage just failed across the entire map. And because of that, Ambition was able to get in there, was able to help pick up 2 kills and potentially Dragon on top of that. And you can't really afford to do that. I mean, yeah, you're struggling for money, but your team needs to help you out. You can't be the only one as support to keep that ward coverage down, or you're going to lose fights every single time.
There comes the Flying Bear via the Lantern, and that is the pickup. Nicely done, smited away by Helios. Nice and safe. That will extend this gold lead now to 4,000. Obviously, 2 turrets to 1 in favor of Blaze. And what do you do at this stage of the game here, Jason? I mean, what do Anexis need to make happen?
Oh, they need to look at their late game. Look, I mean, they have such a really strong team composition. They have 4 really tanky members, and then they have that burst healing out of Erotic behind that with Soraka. If they can just drag the game out a little bit, Selvar's going to get so strong that he's going to be really hard to deal with. And Xaxis as well, Overpower, who's already doing a phenomenal job at this point, building really tanky, is going to be really hard to lock down. It's going to be really a huge annoyance to Captain Jack. It's just all up to them to drag the game out a little bit, and they're going to need to do that through wards. They have to protect their own jungle, because they're losing turrets, well, kind of left and right at this point, and the top turret obviously should be the next one to go down. And Nexus can't really afford to really defend it at this point.
Let's have a look at the items that have been picked up. Sunfire Cape coming out for Jarvan. Bloodthirster finished on Caitlyn. Other side, See Rise finally getting in there with that Catalyst that T was picked up for him earlier. Brutalizer plus the Chain Vest on Urgot as well here, as we are going to see Lustboy being pressured a little bit. The Equalizer actually coming down. Flash used there. Zazas actually taking a lot of damage here from Captain Jack as Ace in the hole does go through. They don't get the kill, and Overpower may now be able to clean up from this one. Jarvan is actually coming in from the backside. They need to take Overpower as low as they can in this encounter. Can he get onto Lustboy? He's going to get slowed, and they get the one kill, and the hook as well. Oh my god, now Erotic in the bottom, flung over. 3 kills for Blaze, amazing.
That was so well played by CJ Blaze right there, kiting them as long as possible. The Dacia's charge just wasn't off cooldown in time. And Ambition, I mean, even if they did die in the end, Ambition would have been there to clean it up in the end. And Blaze playing phenomenal right now with just every gank they're pulling off. It's just always been spot on perfect.
And top tower is going to go down as well here. This is going to be turret number 3 for Blaze. All 3 outer turrets gone. And that is the start they were looking for. Helios coming over to defend his mid turret, which Rise had just pushed through as well. And now 6,000 gold exactly in the lead. And it's not looking good for Anexis. As you said, they started off yesterday really well, going 3 for 0. They ended up actually 3 for 2 at the end. They lost to EG in the last game.
Yeah, they seem to have a hard time against the Korean teams. When they played against Frost, they just didn't seem to know how to beat them, which is kind of confusing because they were playing extremely well, like playing very aggressive early on. The same thing's happening yet again right now. And Nexus, I mean, it's not looking good for them at all. 14 minutes in, having a 6,000 gold deficit. Captain Jack does get caught in the mid lane.
Captain Jack might be in trouble, or maybe not, because the Lantern pulls him straight through. Completely baited into that one. Didn't even see the Lantern there off to the side, I have to say. But Blaze doing another fantastic bit of work as Overpower going to get caught onto here. Jarvan's coming in around the side. The box is down. Jarvan going to go in. Cataclysm is going to be on Rise. Helios is going to fall. And this is 2 kills apiece as Captain Jack goes over the wall. Can he get away? He flashes back to his team. But Rumble comes around. Double kill for Zazas. He will fall shortly afterwards. And that will be a 3 for 3.
And there was only 2 kills actually happening for each team in that fight right there. On the bot lane, we saw Raquel and Flame go head-to-head where that Soraka ultimate, I don't even think it was meant for him, but it kept him alive long enough for him to get that kill onto Flame. And that's going to give him a nice bit of extra gold just to help get back in this. But Blaze, during that team fight, that was just so well played. And luckily for Nexus, Zazas was in the right position at the right time to pick up that kill onto Captain Jack.
So blue buff being stolen away by Ambition on the top side of the Anexis jungle. I'd say nice little pickup for him to have. It leaves us 14-7 in kills. That 6,000 gold lead still stands for Blaze. Obviously, they're looking through to go through into the second semi-final, which will be tomorrow. Actually, the winner of this game will go on to play SK Telecom.
T1, yep. And that's not going to be an easy match. I mean, they beat, was it Blaze? Yeah, it Blaze day 1, and just, they did. Okay. Well, anyways, well, they still look really strong.
Yesterday.
Okay. Oh, yes, they did. Sorry, it was another team. Wow, it's been a long week. I mean, we've had Super Week after LCS, we've had CeBIT now. That's Mike's use, so I'm going with it. But anyways, looking at items just a little bit, you have Helios. I mean, he has an Aegis of the Legion. It's going to help out just overall with any kind of damage that Nexus can put out, which they're starting to hit that point where they're getting very strong. I mean, we saw Rumble last fight, pretty much just 1v1 Captain Jack. We do see actually, wow, Lustboy getting low right there, but Overpower getting kited.
Gonna put the Equalizer down as well, and a lot thrown in at these 2 men underneath the turret. They've not taken the turret down to half HP as Helios is going to get jumped on. Can they finish him off? Yes, just about, but the Cataclysm has got Celiver in there. The turret is going to be finishing that off. The rest of the Nexus starting to tank it up as well. They're going in onto Overpower. The hook will land, and that will bring Lustboy into range. Here comes Flame from the side. Ace in the hole, not quite finishing off. Erotic there. Zazas going to flash over the wall. Arkwell coming around the side. Ambition gets the knock up. He's going to get the quadra kill, and well, he could have been looking up for a penta there if Arkwell hadn't have just made a beeline and ran away. Well, that is another great turn of events for the Korean. They lost just Volibear in that.
And that is the downside for Nexus having a Jarvan on the other team. You don't really have that mobility to get out of that Cataclysm minus your flashes, and with all those on cooldown from that last major team fight towards the Dragon, you're not going to be able to do anything when you have a, well, now 8-0 and 6 Jarvan on top of you. You have Captain Jack attacking you, when he has 6 kills, he has the Bloodthirster and the Zeal done. Not to mention Jax, if he jumps in there with that Counter-Strike up, you're just going to be taken down one by one.
But how good has Lustboy as well been at this point? We've seen some crazy hooks from him, lanterns that have saved his teammates. He's 3-0-11 as well at this point in the match. So he is just kind of wrecking faces.
Yeah, I mean, I bet you Edward's sitting there watching right now for Gibby Gaming, really proud to see supports just having such a dominant role in the game. We do see Dragon up. Nexus, very smart play for them to actually try to take this away. They knew a couple of ultimates were down from Blaze, and they should be able to secure this to help, keep them in the game in terms of gold. And that's what they have to keep doing, make sure they can farm their own jungle with wards, make sure they can get Dragon when it comes up. They can't afford to go for a fight, so they have to obviously give it away if Blaze goes in, but that's all they have to do is just keep that gold incoming, wait till you get towards that later game where they become really tanky and really powerful.
Flame here just pushing that top lane out as well. If you look down the CS, 150 to 80 CS, if we say that in the top lane. Only actually a 400 gold difference between them, though, because of those kills that Rumble has been picking up. As Helios going to go charging in on towards Celivo, who's just going to say, well, you know what, I'm going to teleport away, but guess what? That's going to be cancelled off by Lustboy. Helios bites down for the kill.
And just as you mentioned, Lustboy doing an extremely good job on Thresh, lands that Q, stops that teleport, and a great pickup on the Celivo. Now they're going to push this bot lane. And Joe, you're talking about CS a little bit. Jax, he is such a large CS lead, obviously not a lot of gold lead, but we know how dangerous Jax is if he is left alone. As we do see Arkel get jumped on with Cataclysm.
Yeah, he is going to go down in this one. He actually tries to switch the positions, gets interrupted. Arkel going to go, and that is Lustboy picking up another one. 4-0-12 for Thresh. But there can only ever be one Thresh Prince. I'm sorry, Lustboy.
And the thing is, these whole entire fights that have been happening so far has been with Flame farming a lane by himself. I mean, he hasn't actually been involved in these fights that are that much. And that just shows you how far ahead right now Ambition and Captain Jack are, not to mention Lustboy, with all those perfect grabs every time to really just lock down everyone on Anexis at this point.
Those perfect grabs to secure the kills. That's what he's done. 4-0-12. Great scoreline for him as Jack's getting a sniff of overpower coming in. Celivo was there as well. Took the right decision to just back away. No need to risk anything there for Flame. If we compare the lanes off here as well, I mean, Jarvan to Ryze, okay, maybe not the most fair comparison, but 122 to 98, 807 for Jarvan at the moment. The AD carries 131 to 113, 626 for Captain Jack as Flame is going to get caught out. The counter-strike is going to go off onto both of them. He leap strikes away. Overpower's going to charge in on towards the minions, but they can't lock him down.
And I mean, that was them throwing everything they had with those two members to kill him, and yet they didn't have the damage at this point. Like I was saying, they just need to kind of prolong the game a little bit. Selivar's tier is stacked up to 484 at this point, has a Rod of Ages, so he's getting to that point where he's going to start hurting him. But Flame, with just him being allowed to solo farm like this, he's getting the items he needs. And Joe, we both know how dangerous a Jax can be, even in Season 3 patch, when he gets left alone to farm.
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing that you've got to stop against him, as Flame's going in again towards this blue buff. They stole it away on that last time, and as such knew that spawn timing perfectly. May even try and close in on towards Xaxus here in this top lane. Captain Jack going to reveal himself, and they'll be happy that we just forced Xaxus away from that one. Flame going to tank up the turret after these minions die, if they even need to. They're taking it down very, very quickly, and that is going to be turret number 6 as Erotic not getting hooked in there. There wasn't really anyone to follow up anyway.
And the thing is, at Nexus, they're just giving away all their outer turrets. They cannot afford to fight Blaze at this point. And they know it. They're having to concede all these turrets. They need to, at least ward up outside their base, because, Blaze, they have the opportunity to take Baron at this point. They have Lustboy with that Oracle. He's 4-0-12 still. They have the wards down. And if they go up against a Baron Hub Blaze, I don't really think that they can even last in their own base when they're under their Nexus turrets.
I think you're right with that one, as well as Overpower going very, very deep there. Going to get the heal out of Soraka. But as you said, there's no towers left out of the base at this point, and the ward's already down by Blaze to make sure that they've got vision in case Anexis start to push away there. But Flame is going straight in towards Baron. They are going to go for it.
And I was looking at, while this is happening, just composition a little bit. And I think Blaze just completely outplayed them in terms of sending their AD carry support mid lane. It forced Erotic to leave Urgot alone, and they did get that lane dominance with him that they were kind of expecting to have by picking up that Soraka-Urgot combo. So they really just screwed them over early game.
Well, I don't know if the later middle late game is going to be any different, as we are seeing Ambition coming around. Going to get the knock up onto Arkwell. There's a Cataclysm. Catches 2 of them in. Who are they going to focus on first? Arkwell going to switch positions or not, because he does get just interrupted with that one. And Blaze going to push their way down this middle lane. Can they defend this inhibitor turret. There are no minions there for now. Bottom lane, maybe a target as well to start getting pushed out as Caitlyn does tank up a couple of hits from the tower, but the rest of the team going to be following in with that next wave. Xaxus trying to force them off with that flame spitter, but turret already taken down to less than half health. In fact, they might just have it away. Captain Jack giving no craps about the fact that the tower's hitting him as Lustboy actually going to go in there. Here we go. They dive in once again on towards Soraka. The box is down as well. They can't really move from this one, and that will be a inhibitor turret. Xaxus is not getting away from it either. Helios just coming in to secure that before he could get out of reach, even with the ace in the hole already in his direction. And that is going to be the first inhibitor. They can just go down onto this turret on the bottom lane here, which is exactly what they're going to do. Captain Jack getting rid of the minions first of all. Rest of Blaze going to be tanking up the turret as the wave comes in. They go in on towards Celiva. Going to catch him up here. There is the ace in the hole. I called it wrong. It wasn't used in that last one. Arkwell going to get stunned up here by Jax. Finished off by Helios. And Overpow just walks away, wondering what happened to the rest of his team there. They're just killing them over and over here as they spawn in towards the base. And Blaze, to be honest, they can just win the game with this one. They've got minions coming in. I can't really see that Anexis have got anything to stop it with, as we do see Xaxus and Overpow, the last two men left alive. Second Nexus turret is going to go down. The Nexus itself will get focused, and Blaze are going to take down Anexis here in game number 1 of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship quarterfinal.
And Joe, that was a very, very one-sided match for CJ Blaze. Very well played by them in general. And Anexis, they're going to have to go into this next game with a fresh mind and look at this and what went wrong and what they need to do to improve, because we've seen them play before. We know they have that ability to, you know, just completely ignore that first devastating loss and come back in a best of 3.
So we're going to be throwing it over to the analysis desk here to break down everything. We'll be back later, of course, for game number 2. But for now, over to Jared.
Thanks, Joe. Decisive win for Blaze in the first round. I think it's something that kind of expected. It was our prediction. What does Anexis do now? How do they pull themselves together? How do you recover from that?
You forget about that game and play as if this next one is completely brand new, clean slate, 0-0. Don't go on a tilt, and pick different champions slightly.
Yeah, you know, the opening gambit of the game was actually pretty close. They traded fairly evenly in terms of the laning phase. One of the big problems was that Anexis dove so deep, trying to pick up a kill in the bottom lane within, I think, 8 or 9 minutes. And they just ended up resulting in giving away too many kills. And when you give away that much gold and itemization early, you know, there was a double kill on Captain Jack in the middle lane after a very good, like, level 2, level 3 tower dive. Every single time Anexis made a play, CJ Entus Blaze simply turned around, picked up 2 or 3 kills and closed it out. And it just seemed as though they were sort of one step ahead in every single one of the engagements.
Yeah, they just simply outplayed them in basically every opportunity they could when there was some way that they could do something that, oh, I have this ability left. You don't seem to realize this and just jump over a wall or a lantern here, or as we're about to see in this first replay.
Yeah, let's actually jump into the replay. You know, we're talking about the played moments, etc. And this was something that just went absolutely crazy about. Lustboy and Captain Jack up in the top lane. Xaxus and Overpower are trying to pick an engagement. You can see the equalizer has come down and it has dropped their HP bars. Banky, talk us through this play.
So, did you see Xaxus initiating that fight, trying to get in as close, and then Overpower gets in, can charge onto Captain Jack, gets the slowdown, but gets caught in the trap after some beautiful placement by Jack. And this is the mistake. He switches focus here onto Lustboy. Gets slowed, can chase him in, attach in again, trying to do the damage to Lustboy. Xaxus is out of range to do any damage here, and Captain Jack is doing all he wants the entire time. 90 caliber net here keeps him out of range of that last hit on Lustboy. Using that Pills to over Peacemaker picks up 1 kill. Xaxus should have backed off here, but he kept coming in again, opened himself up to a hook, and Jack managed to pick himself up a second kill. Just beautifully outplayed the coordination, the teamwork from Lustboy and Jack, the communication in there as well, and just not quite the right focus or the teamwork or the follow-up there from the Anexis team.
And that was pretty much what happened throughout the entirety of that matchup. Every single time CJ Entus Blaze said, we want to go for the tower or we want to go for a kill, they simply put all their abilities together. And we're going to go into another replay. This is at around 16 minutes on the game. There's 6,000 gold that separates these two teams. Anexis, they tried to make something happen. They, you know, focused on Helios at the beginning of this fight, but CJ Entus Blaze simply turned it around completely. And one of the things that struck me about this particular fight was the team fight coordination in terms of the diving, the leaps, and the pressure that comes out from Blaze. So Banky, talk us through this.
Yeah, so it's Anexis here, 4v2 under this mid turret to start with. They do get Helios in, snare him up, and the overpower makes the call. Let's go and kill this guy. And remember, he's got that passive on. Passive has already been used, sorry, so he's not going to start the heal up. He does get dropped down. Xaxis, once he activates that Flame Spitter, gets that initial point of damage. Lost Boy was initially pushed back thanks to an ultimate from Overpower, but he comes back in again with a quick hook. Now, there's 4 members of Anexis locked under this turret with 2 members of Blaze. Turret aggro is on CeBIT. He's sitting down here in the bottom side, getting wailed away on by Ambition, who is full health, double buffed, and has a lot of damage. Great ultimate, locks all of Anexis past and in turret range, and then they switch on to Overpower. Lost Boy, very, very tanky, has managed to survive that onslaught while Ambition was killing CeBIT, and a great hook at max range over their wall picks up the kill for Jarvan. And the fact that he activates it before he dies means he can come in and join them. Erotic then got that snipe, they decide to leave him, no reason to wait any longer, and the red buff just about picks him up. Good flash away from Xaxis, gets him with plenty of distance between the two, but Ambition has what he needs to follow it up. Comes in with a good, well-landed EQ combo, picks himself up a quadra kill. And ultimately, that all comes down to the fact that Ambition never had any pressure on him. He was down in that bottom lane, he free farmed, he got a lot of items. At that point, after the quadra kill, he went 8-0-6. He was incredibly tanky, they couldn't kill him, they did a lot of damage with that Brutalizer and Sunfire Cape. And the power of that ultimate, mixed in with all the other abilities that the guys on Blaze had, and the way they used them, just got them to this point where they were untouchable with everything in Nexus had.
I do have to quickly touch on the final scoreboard there. That was coming out from Ambition. 8-0-12 on his mid lane Jarvan, and Lustboy 4-0-16 on his Thresh. I said it during the game as well, you know, you can't give Lustboy Thresh. He landed so many important hooks. It was very, very well played indeed.
Well, yesterday, Anexis pulled out magic. Maybe they still have more magic in them today. I believe they could do it. Why don't you let us know? Go to Twitter, hashtag IEM, and ask us who's going to win the next game. Answer us who's going to win the next game. I'm just going to be safe and say it's Blaze, but I'm going to be cheering very hard for Nexus.
Yeah, I kind of want it to be Nexus. I want it to go to a 1-all series and level things out. But ultimately, if it goes similar to that, it's just going to be a 2-0 stomp from Blaze.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have Game 2 of Anexis versus Blaze. Don't go anywhere.